You're listening to Cornhole Champions. I'm Zachary Oren Smith. I'm sitting here with Iowa starting lines Amie Rivers and Avery Staker. I like the kind of like three-pointer that you're shooting. I think that's really good.
The Midwest finger wave.
For our third and final story of the day, the scramble that happens when opportunity knocks. Last week, Ashley Hinson announced she's running for Senate after Joni Ernst decided not to seek re-election. Republican Jim Carlin, who is also running for the U.S. Senate seat, remarked that the timing looks suspicious. One candidate announcement followed directly after another. He said, and I quote, "Did you see what happened after that?" Ashley Hinson announced 3 hours later she was running for the Senate seat for Iowa. What does that tell you? It tells me that they knew all along, that it was scripted, that it was planned, that it was orchestrated. What do you guys think? Do you guys think Jim Carlin
Ernst,
is it?
No, I mean, Ernst is that was last week that it was. So her staff had days to come up with this. In addition, 3 hours to come up with a 1-paragraph, "Yes, I'm running," when she was probably already thinking of it.
I mean, I'm kind of with Carlin, right? I mean, everyone has known that Ashley Hinson was kind of waiting in the wings for this pick. I think I'd said it in videos. I think we've talked about it in podcasts. Like anytime we talk about the extent to which Ernst may or may not run, the will she, the won't she. It is always Hinson is the first kind of one of the first names that pops out, right? So am I surprised that she had a statement ready to launch her campaign when Ernst announced her retirement? No, I'm not. Orchestrated, I think, is correct, right? They were obviously coordinating. I mean, they endorsed one another right after the fact, right? So I don't know. I'm kind of with I'm with Jim.
I'm in the fork fountain kitchen where good observation, Carlin, but duh. It's they obviously know each other.
Right.
Like you said, they endorsed each other almost immediately after.
Right.
They're both, national federal representatives from Iowa. Sure, yeah. And
what exactly is orchestrated? I mean, she was already on the rise. She was gonna go for a higher office.
Well, I also think they, they were anticipating it would have been a highly contested seat, and it's a big one. It's a Senate one, so we don't ever get to elect these. We don't get to elect these super often. So I think Republicans are looking to hold on to that seat as much as they can. And Joni Ernst has been in the hot seat these last couple months from both, the general public and the MAGA crowd. So I think it makes sense to me that they were like, all right, you're going to retire and you're going to replace her.
Well, and it's not like the Hinson staff saw Ernst go's video announcing that she wasn't running for re-election, and then we're like, oh shit, maybe we should run for.
They've been planning this.
Yeah, well, we've been talking about how it's unlikely that Ernst will be running for re-election. We've been drilling that kind of rumor for so long.
Yeah.
The Jennifer Jacobs piece runs the week before the announcement. This was 2 weeks ago now. They've been if they weren't making a plan for the future, I don't know how much more information you need, public or private. And that's that's putting aside any conversations that Ernst staff had with Hinson staff, right? Which certainly happened.
Absolutely, yeah.
For the rest of the hour, we're gonna talk a little bit about the shakeup, kind of how Hinson's run from one chamber to the other will impact the rest of the seats heading into 2026. Let's start with the U.S. Senate seat. As I wrote over on my newsletter last week on cornholechampions.substack.com, please follow. There are a couple of names that did get floated for this seat on the Republicans other than Hinson. Among them are U.S. Ambassador to NATO Matt Whitaker, who's while he's been doing a lot with the Trump administration, remains kind of a regular at Iowa GOP events. Right, he's still one of these names that comes up as a headline speaker. And then also Iowa Attorney General Byrd. She has said she's running for re-election, though, for Attorney General. So it seems unlikely now that she's going to be taking on Hinson in that primary. I don't know if y'all noticed, but Hinson's been posting a bunch of endorsement photos, right? Not necessarily
got that Trump endorsement too. So.
Got the Trump endorsement, which is the only important endorsement.
The big one.
Right.
But there's been a lot of names that I wasn't really familiar with. Laura Bellin, the writer over Bleeding Heartland, made the point that a lot of these names that were endorsers are not necessarily folks that your average Iowa voter are going to be familiar with. This isn't like these aren't people that like are going to mean a lot to her people voting in the primary, but it will mean something to fundraisers at fundraisers. It will mean something for people as she's trying to lock out the primary math against folks like Jim Carlin.
Rip Carlin.
Meanwhile, sorry, dude. On the Democratic ticket across the aisle, there's State Representative Josh Turek of Council Bluffs. He had a kind of a splashy entrance into the race. State Senator Zach Walls of Coralville, and then Nathan Sage of Indianola, as well as Des Moines School Board Chair Jackie Norris, all Democrats running for that seat. What's cool about this is it does open up the second congressional district, right? When Ashley Hinson was on it, every election forecaster would look at this and say, this is not a seat that is up for grabs. This is a likely Republican seat. It's a Republican pickup seat. With Ashley Hinson vacating it, there's not kind of obvious folks that are in the race. Among the Republicans, a recent announcement was State Representative Joe Mitchell, one of the youngest, when he was sworn in, I think he was the youngest person elected to that chamber in the Iowa House, which is kind of interesting. So is State Representative Shannon Lundgren of Peosta. I also saw that Charlie McClintock, state senator from, I believe, Cedar Rapids, is in the race. He's kind of interesting. He's the only Republican that I know that ever received a labor endorsement. You'll write in if you know of others, but that was a pretty big news item back when I was at a different publication.
Yeah, let's go Northeast Iowa. This will be exciting. A lot of
interesting, yeah.
A lot of political ads coming our way for sure.
Amie, do you want to talk a little bit about the Democrats that are running?
Lindsey James, I gotta think is probably the front runner right now, just for the name recognition. She is extremely well known in Dubuque, which is great. There are other, obviously Cedar Rapids is also in this market, and that makes Clint Twed-Ball very interesting. He runs Matthew 25. He's a pastor. He's a community leader and really, really known there. So I think if you're pitting those two metros together, that becomes really interesting because obviously Cedar Rapids has slightly larger population than Dubuque. And then I don't know anything about Kathy Dolter, honestly.
Yeah, she announced her run before Lindsey James jumped in. It was Clint and Kathy for a while there. But I haven't heard much from Dolter's court. Right now it seems pretty James has pretty quickly kind of risen to the front of that pack. Moving on a little bit, Iowa's first congressional district races once again really competitive. As we spoke, the already mentioned U.S. Representative Mariannette Miller-Meeks is the incumbent. She's had a series of really close elections. I think this is one of these seats that is always targeted by national Democratic, the roaming bands of Democratic operatives sweeping across the United States while they wait for a hopefully more friendly Washington, D.C.
Make it sound like an old Western.
Based on some of the phone calls I get, it sometimes feels like it.
They ride into town, yeah.
The Democratic support for that race has really consolidated around Christina Bohannon. She's a constitutional lawyer. She's run 2 other times before this. This would be her third chance to try to unseat Mariannette Miller-Meeks, and she's getting closer and closer with each race. So we'll see what happens there. The other people in that race are Muscatine lawyer Taylor Wedak. I'm not really sure how to pronounce his name. And then Travis Terrell. Travis is kind of trying to run to to Bohannon's left. He's got some support here in Iowa City, and then Taylor Waddick is, he's a lawyer who I think he was a federal prosecutor before he got shipped out. But most of what I know about him is in a campaign trailer that you can watch online. I was third. It's pretty competitive. Avery, do you want to talk a little bit about the folks running in that one since you live there?
Yes, I do live there. There's the incumbent Republican Representative Zach Nunn. He didn't really even want to. Girl. He didn't really even want to do it in the first place. He was like kind of pushed into running for re-election by our president. But You know, we talked about him earlier. He kind of sucks. And for the Democrats, we have State Senator Sarah Trungariot. We have former Minority Leader Jennifer Comfirst and Xavier Kerrigan, which I don't know much about Xavier Kerrigan.
This is another pretty competitive seat, right? There's another.
Yeah.
I live in Iowa City, but last year when this race was going on, I was spending a lot of time in the Des Moines metro. And, depending on which metro you were in, it really decided kind of which one you thought was the most competitive. So when I was in Des Moines, everyone's like, oh, well, none is that's the most likely flip. Bohannon, who can say, you're back in Iowa's first. Oh, no, Miller-Meeks is going down. It's the other one. And Democrats lost both seats, right? Both seats went to Republicans. So we'll see whether they can pull it across the plate. I mean, I think it's going to be a tough race for both sides.
Well, in 2018, both of them flipped Democrats, so
it's true. It's true.
You never know.
This is very 2018 like, yeah.
So I was third, super competitive. I was first, also super competitive. As we mentioned, Iowa's second is an open seat. Iowa's U.S. Senate seat will be an open seat. Iowa's governor seat will also be an open seat, right? When we're talking about, I think what's interesting right now about this story is that we're talking about potential. We're talking about this early on, right before 2026 actually hits our calendars. When we are trying to make a case for folks' time, as we're trying to talk about why they should be interested in the project of making Iowa a better place, right? What we're talking about is potential. What we're asking for is a degree of optimism. And when we're talking about open seats and competitive seats, I mean, those can sound kind of boring. But like when we're looking at what is possible on this map, Iowa may only have 1% of the population, but it'll have something like 5% of the seats that are at play in Congress. I mean, that's if you're a political nerd like me, or hell, you're just an Iowan that wants to see its leadership pushing back against the federal government, maybe getting back some of the throw dollars that we mentioned in the previous segment. This is where the rubber meets the road on that. So just something to mention. Obviously, Iowa's 4th congressional district will be an open seat as Randy Feenstra dreams about the governor's mansion. But it's still going to be a likely Republican seat. In that race, you've got Republican Iowa House Majority Leader Matt Winchittle of Missouri Valley, land appraiser Kyle Larson of Humboldt County, Siouxland Chamber of Commerce President Chris McGowan, and Christian Schlafler, a farmer, businessman, and community leader from Lakota. Democrats running in that race, former state representative Dave Dawson of Lawton and Ashley Wolftornbane of Storm Lake. Again, likely a Republican seat, but interesting that it's an open seat with Randy Feenstra vacating.
He's for sure vacating. Like, he's for sure gonna.
He has an exploratory committee for governor, and you can't run for governor in 2026 and for that House seat. I don't think that Matt Winchittle would have jumped the gun to go from like the leadership in the Iowa House without having some pretty clear
solid
direction from Feenstra that he's not going to be running for that seat.
Gotcha.
Open seats are political gold. They reset the playing field and create opportunities that wouldn't exist otherwise. Hinson's Senate ambitions just turned what looked like a pretty sleepy House race into one of Iowa's most interesting contests for 2026.
Let's go.
In a state, that's your district.
Yeah.
In a state where Democrats are hungry for wins, this could be their best shot at flipping a federal seat.
Do you guys think that Dems have a better chance in a district like Nuns, where like you have an incumbent, but he's kind of disliked and it's more of like a purplish type district? Or do you think it's a better chance to flip a seat in a district like Hinson's that's like potentially more red, but like doesn't really have an incumbent?
2 has flipped so often. Like, if you look back at like the sort of patchwork before Hinson, it was like, flipping very quickly from one to the other. So I think that potential is still there. I think you really have to get Cedar Rapids on board and Dubuque on board for sure.
The voter registration numbers are a little bit better for Democrats in Nuns district, Iowa's 3rd congressional district. They also have an incumbent, right? And I don't have to. I had a conversation for this podcast with Megan Goldberg, maybe months ago, it feels like, talking about incumbency and the value of incumbency, the power of incumbency. It's a really huge boon for that campaign, whether just out the gate, right? Just having a name that's a little bit better recognized than someone who has to establish theirs. Obviously, Confirst and Turngarriott have that benefit. Have the benefit from being in politics at a pretty high level, so like they'll benefit there. The thing that will help out in Iowa's third is, will be interesting to watch is you're going to have both sides trying to establish a candidate. Actually, Hinson really did lock out that district in a tremendous fashion, right? So whoever comes is going to have. I mean, like none of the names that we mentioned, other than maybe Lindsey James, have the kind of name recognition that will really kind of push her across the post. So each of them will have to spend a lot of time trying to explain what their deal is, who they are they kind of what lane of the Democratic Party they think they're running in. I'll just say I don't know that. I think that while you're asking like basically like for a name, is the nameless race better or the atmospherics better, right? And I think they come with opportunities and costs.
Cool. What a non-answer.
Sorry, liberals.
I do want to say on the subject of voter registration, I know Bellin's all over this all the time talking about the numbers aren't there, the numbers aren't there. Bellin also knows that independents are such a huge force in Iowa, unlike any other state, basically. There's a whole lot of people that are not registered as either Republicans or Democrats. And those are the people that everybody's trying to go for because those are the people that could flip. And so if you flip a decent portion of independents in every single district, you could really see any possible Democrat win, even in the fourth.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and in a year where the atmospherics are going to privilege Democrats, right? Like, are going to help Democrats, right?
Exactly.
This is going to be a year where
very 2018.
You're going to have a really coordinated campaign. You will hopefully have a coordinated campaign where Iowa's governor, whoever becomes Iowa's governor, primary winner, whoever becomes Iowa's U.S. Senate primary winner, whoever becomes Iowa, each of these campaigns. Hopefully, right, they're doing a lot of stumping together. They're working together to try to build out greater name recognition across the ticket. Mm-hmm. Because I think like this is the best. This is kind of, again, talking about optimism, talking about opportunity. This is the best possible chance that Democrats have had in the state in a while. If they are not successful, I think that there's like real costs there. So like when we're talking about like what in addition to the opportunities that are available, there's also real pressure to perform.
Stakes are high.
Stakes are high. The stakes have never been higher. Give me
the most important election of your lifetime.
Text vote.
It's gonna be really stressful. Like this is gonna be I'm like not looking forward to like covering it.
I'm gonna be fresh off some like parental leave. I'm gonna hop in like a poop tube on my lap, ready to go at it.
What is a poop tube? Wait, don't tell me.
That was another episode of Cornhole Champions. If you have questions, please send them in to Zach at iowastartingline.com and be sure to include where in the state you're writing from. We're an audio medium, so send it a voice memo if you're brave. Keep questions under 90 seconds, please, and we'd love to hear from you. While you can watch Cornhole Champions wherever you listen to podcasts, the best place is to subscribe to our YouTube. That's youtube.com/Iowa Starting Line. Like and subscribe to help us grow that platform. The best place to follow my work and every twist and turn of this show is my Substack newsletter. Give me a follow over at cornholechampions.substack.com. We are on Instagram and TikTok with clips from this show and with videos of each of us thinking through the stories of the day. Give us a follow. If you like the show, I think you'll like what you find there. Last, Iowa Starting Line's flagship newsletter is a tremendous resource. Subscribe to it at iowastartingline.com/newsletter. You won't be sorry you did. Cornhole Champions is a weekly podcast powered by Iowa Starting Line. The podcast is produced by me and edited by Rebecca Steinberg. Our music is by Avery Mossman, and our show art is by Desirée Tapia. Cornhole Champions is a proud member of the Iowa Writers Collaborative. We'll see you with a new episode next Wednesday. Until then, I'm Zachary Oren Smith.
I'm Amie Rivers.
And I'm Avery Staker.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, I was filing my nails. I was doing it on the desk, but I thought that I...
Are you filing your nails while we're recording?
Yeah.
Amarillo Rivers. Amarillo Hezekiah Rivers. You're filing your...
Just had to Just had a,
You're getting a
edge.
point on them claws while we're recording a podcast.
just the yeah.
Answer for yourself.
I did. I was doing it. Yeah.